I love Mary's. Join with me in the ohm of this mic. Lower it down. I love Mary's voice. It's like the Divine Mother. As soon as you speak, it brings over, from all the years of knowing you, a deep calm and a reassurance. So good morning to all of you bright faces. This is an interesting topic, from outer appearance to inner substance. Seems I thought it would be a lot easier to approach this talk, but I found myself this week entering the idea of it really with a mind of not knowing and thinking, what have I been doing all these years? And I needed one big do-over, it felt like, just to start fresh. There is a question that has followed me for a lifetime. One of those soul-searching questions, like, why am I letting this bother me? Why is this outside thing triggering me and taking my peace? Why is that? When I know in spiritual work, we're all one. Why do I separate myself from that? And I never can quite get a resolution that satisfies me at a soul level. And even this week, I was talking in our class, we're doing visioning, and I was sharing that. And even as I was sharing, I was thinking in my head, this is not right, what you're about to say. This is not right. You are judging people. And what I was saying, what my idea was envisioning when we're opening to the divine idea, we're asking ourselves to keep going up through all of the beliefs that we have allowed ourselves to feel empowered by through a lifetime, through all that, open at the top, and then just allow the divine to drop the idea into our awareness, the idea that's already known. And that is such a holy idea. And yet I think I was also sharing that I think a lot of times humanity and mankind are just not operating on that level. See, there was my judgment. I was feeling like there was a radio station to tune into. And if we could just get our frequency just right in our spiritual practice, and if we could allow ourselves to be in the presence, to really understand, I am in the presence. I am held in this holy sacred space. And then following that saying, but those people aren't. That's not true. That's not true. And I even as I said it, I felt this, why are you saying this? I remember looking over at Hazel's in the class, and I remember looking at her, she's smiling at me. I'm thinking, what's that smile mean? Because this is really unkind what I'm saying here. But we followed it through, but it was really, have you ever chewed on something? You just got to keep chewing on it to make sense, because that's not right. That's something that I kind of thought maybe was going on. But the truth is we're all one, and we're all tuned into the frequency of the divine. We all are. And just because I might think that my way is better than their way, if I can remember that, because this lifetime has been a pattern of remembering and forgetting, remembering and forgetting. Charlie Tweet used to sing a song, and we sang that at a retreat. I am remembering and I am forgetting, back and forth, back and forth. But I choose that through the soul searching of this week, and even as we were driving here today, Charlie he always gives me a beautiful treatment as we prepare for service. And I thought, may we walk out of here today remembering and never forgetting that we're all one. From the outer appearance, whatever it is, to the inner substance, which is always presence, always this presence, this divine knowing, this divine nature, this truth, this longing to be connected to the source of everything that there is. And sometimes we think we have it, but really we're just passionately responding to ideas of another. Think about those moments when you're reading something, you're going, that's it. And you put it inside your library of great wisdom, but have you digested it enough? Have you chewed on it enough to make it yours, to wake you up to a greater idea? And in the 10:30 talk, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about Socrates, who this talk led me into his wisdom. And I was telling Mary, I really didn't know much about Socrates until I explored this wisdom through Kennedy Schultz, sharing this idea of this incredible philosopher, born before Jesus, his paralleling Jesus and Socrates, their teachings. And the principle behind all of this, and Ernest Holmes and the Science of Mind philosophy, not what to think. That's the beauty of it. That's what's always been my joy of this teaching. Not what to think, but how. How to think. How to remember. This wisdom, we speak of the divine qualities. And wisdom, the nature of the divine is wisdom. And when we're in an aspect of opening ourselves to the greater ideal, to the wisdom of the divine, when we sit in the presence of that wisdom showers through us, upon us. So, Wayne Dyer again, my judgments prevent me from seeing the good that lies beyond appearances. And it seems that time has sped up lately. And the universe, with all of our ways of having the computer access, the internet access, news media, I think about when you get to direct TV or any of those ways of getting the communication into your home, how many channels there are, how many frequencies are there to tune into, and what are your choices? And it's interesting because a lot of people pretty much drop it down to maybe 4 or 5 choices out of the 300 or 500 or whatever is out there. We're tuning our frequency in, and then we're allowing ourselves to kind of be fed the information that is going to be channeled through that way. And it's not a bad thing. We want to stay aware and awake, but we also want to have even more time spent in divine silence, because the true wisdom and the true information that we absolutely need to know is coming from the universe, is coming and directed through our divine mind, which is connected to the one mind, to our hearts, to our soul, to our service, out into the world. That's all that the divine wants of us, is to be servants of this good. But the appearances that we have been witnessing lately have distracted us into moments of distress, moments of complaining, moments of cursing, moments of confusion, moments of it should be this way, not that way, and we're divided. Before we know it, we're divided. That breaks my heart, how much we are divided. So many relationships in these past several years have split up because of the outside appearances. have eaten away at love, appears to have. And so I think, well, what's this? These judgments I'm having, they are separating me. They're giving me, it's my way, not their way. It's placing me there, me. For me, this is my story here, but I'm wondering if perhaps for you, you have been having that same experience. And so these quotes that I came across that are just so anonymous, from anonymous people, but the only difference between a flower and a weed, I've heard this one before, is judgment. I thought about you, Julie, on that one. She sees beauty in all of the wildflowers out there. You can't heal in the environment that made you sick. Always believe something wonderful is about to happen. I love that one. Always believe something wonderful is about to happen. When your heart is in distress, when you feel that, I've got to express my opinion here. I'm compartmentalizing this situation and I'm tucking it back in here someplace in my heart. No, just bring it forward, recognize it, but then this idea, I'm going to believe something wonderful is about to happen. So this is the invitation, is to begin to explore your inner life. It's not about what's going on there in the appearances. Yes, they're triggering us, but why? Be truthful in what you see when you look within. Never stop asking questions. Never think that we know it all, that we have arrived. Keep inviting yourself to explore your motives. Ernest Holmes reminds us that everything reflects back to us what we hold to be true. Everything reflects back to us what we hold to be true. Even the triggered moments, they're reflecting back to us. Not necessarily that we are that, but we have a belief, a judgment that is causing us to quiver, that is causing us to draw a thin line between us and them. But nothing outside of us will ever change because we want it to. It is a reflection of a belief that we're holding. The only place this change can take place is from deep within. That's why we ask the questions. That's why we invite ourselves to journal and to say, what am I seeing here? To sit down and be still and to ask the questions to the divine. And as we do that, then our reactions to the outside world and the outside world experience begins to shift. The change is happening because we are changing. So often when I have the privilege of doing the chair yoga at Shasta Regional, it's an offering to the community, and we go into a meditation at the end. And I'm so in tune with that meditation and those people, and I say, now go out into the world and let the other people that you come across your path see and witness the peace. Let that be your sacred duty today, if you so choose. And it's like, what an opportunity to do our practice, our spiritual work, to ask ourselves the questions, and to keep noticing when we have separated ourselves again, when we are better than, or I would never do that. All of those kind of comments, I would never do that. Maybe not that, but you've done something very similar that has the same vibration. So we're all one here, learning and yearning to be connected to that soul force of divine love. So it's not so important anymore to buy into the stories on the outside. We listen to be aware, to have heart, to have prayer. But focus always on the inner journey. Keep questioning your inner life, your inner experience, and allow that to continue to strengthen you so that what you believe within, as you see all things that happen with an eye of love and an eye and a belief that something wonderful is about to happen here, we reflect that out into the world and things begin to shift. Imagine surrendering all the fear that you've had around something. Just whatever it is, just imagine it right now, and what would your life look like? If you weren't screening your wholeness, as another divine idea of who we are made in perfection and wholeness. Wholeness is such a beautiful sanctuary word of the divine for each of us to lean into, because in that knowing that we are made whole again, we are not divided. Our hearts can really recognize the oneness of humanity, the oneness of all, to actualize this within, to be authentic with that statement when you say it, I am one with you. I am one. There is a commonality of the divine seed, the divine love, the expression of the bhakti, the devotion, the truth expressed in every faith path. We are all that, and you are, I am, we are that. And the philosophy of Ernest Holmes, I couldn't put the books down. I kept thinking, I just want to read these books and share these ideas because it's pristine in its truth. But I recognize it doesn't matter one more passage read to any one of us. What matters is how we spiritually digest this truth and allow our deep listening to our own personal spirit knowing and follow that inner guidance. This divine nature of spirit is drawing to us everything that we need. So we seek joy of living. We seek this joy in living to be loved, right? To be loved, to be needed, to be included. Any one of those, when we're outside of that, is where we have some personal pain. If we don't feel needed, if we feel ignored, invisible, we're yearning always for this love, to be loved and to love. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. And it's from serving others that we find our way to the wholeness. And the subtle forms of judgment and separation, yes, they will reveal themselves along the way, but then now we're awake and we're remembering to act on it and let it go. Let your heart open. The minute it contracts, notice it. Be so aware. I am contracting. What is going on in my world as I look out at the outer and I recognize the substance, the divine substance within me that is contracting to get my attention here. Where must love go? There's another anonymous quote, listen to your own voice and your own soul, because for too long, too many of us have listened to the noise outside of ourselves instead of ourself. This is truly finding yourself, finding your way, your inner substance, to be one with the world. This first question then is focusing on the structure of your outer life and the appearances over what you've been feeling, connected to your spiritual way, Everything that you have digested and feel that this is really my truth. I am so aligned with this. Because it's all held with love. Anchor into that deep knowing and allow yourself to feel relaxed in the arms of the divine and let love flow. Where it was contracted, let love flow. Catch yourself, just as I did this week, when I found myself spouting off something that I thought was quite wise until I spoke it, until it had airtime. And then it has haunted me ever since, because it's not the absolute truth. And we all must be humble in our way long enough to remember that. I had another experience this week that broke my heart. I had an interaction with a friend, and it's because in that interaction, it was revealing into me the torment of something was stirring inside of me that made me feel separate. And then I realized all she had done was touched that compartment inside of me that was holding so much sorrow, was holding so much fear, was holding so much anguish, was holding so much grief. She touched it. Don't touch that. I'll fall apart because I have not let God even touch that. And I went home just soul searching that. What have I just done? That was my friend. And then I realized, as I talked to my sacred advisor, Charlie, and he was willing to simply listen. And then I went into prayer and I sat. I said, this isn't what love does. Do we all have these compartments inside of us that we've just pushed way back because they have such ugliness there, such hard things to deal with? And yeah, I think humanity does. And that's what makes us feel separate. And when we take down those walls, love prevails every time. And love flows every time. So in your own space, what are you putting before that divine? Now maybe it's not the world events or your compartment, but are you hanging out in a job that's just dreadful because it gives you some status, gives you an appearance? Are you letting your security be framed and formed by something other than a deep longing inside of your soul that's asking you to do something else? Are you continually pouring your energy out into the world, giving it away to things that upset you? Because that's what's happening when you're triggered. You just got upset. And there goes your life force. There it goes. And then you do your work to bring it back, and you remember. If you listen to the times and the moments and you recognize that you've given your power away and you're relying on the approval of others instead of staying true to your inner self, just witness those moments. True peace, true inner peace is beyond the world. No possessions, no appearances out there will satisfy that longing for the inner peace. So the invitation is to shift to the loving presence within you. To rely on this versus relying on anything that's been manifested by the wisdom and your way out into your world. As you no longer rely on the manifested things out in there into the world, you'll start to recognize that you depend on that deep open chamber inside your heart space where nothing's hidden. And you start to work hard into knowing that I'm choosing now to allow grace to show me the way. And I am willing to listen, and I am willing to witness a deeper truth. There is a sense of a non-physical self, a non-physical being within you that is witnessing the physical. And that is something greater and more grandeur. The grandeur of that, the holiness, the healing of that is what we are all on the spiritual path walking to receive and to know. So judging others by the outer appearance, their conduct, anybody trying to upgrade themselves by comparison, we're all connected to the same one divine source. Why compare? Why compare? We can drop that. It's all flowing through each and every one of us. It's a sacred energy. And as Wayne Dyer says, as we partner with the divine, we allow that to lead us. There is a spiritual practice that is in yoga. It's called the drishti. It is called the gaze. And I've referred to it often as we're doing postures, and especially if you're trying to bring yourself to balance. There is a drishti, a gaze, that you establish within yourself. And this drishti, though, is a holy gaze. It's a gaze out through the eyes, where the eyes no longer, and you can feel it, and I invite you to look at the stained glass, to look at the clouds, to feel yourself looking. And at first it might feel that you're looking and framing the idea, I am looking at the clouds, I am looking at a stained glass window. And you might be looking with the front part of the eye and just looking, and then the judgment's there. That is a cloud. But the idea of the drishti is to let the seer look through, so your eyes become a window pane, and you look through. You set yourself in the presence of the divine. You set yourself in the seat of love. And you look through to what you see. And you are with the witness. And you are with the deep seer. And you're seeing with the eyes of the divine through the gaze of the drishti. And your world is transformed. Because in that frame of vision with the drishti, the holy sight drops to the heart, drops to the belly. You become one. You are now looking through at a beautiful window, cloud. Try that, because I stand here and look at you through the drishti. I see you through that gaze of the divine. I see you. Begin to see each other through that gaze, through that softness. Let your shoulders drop, let yourself breathe, and let yourself see, maybe for the first time. Breathe and see. It is the drishti. It's where you refuse to judge. It's freedom. You're setting others free. You won't take long before you start to notice that the world is changing, because you are willing. Let me tell you one more thing about sight, because we recognize sight as we see color and shift and change and everything out there that the physical eye can see. But there's this wisdom also that the inner part of sight is the ability to sense the hidden potentiality of the soul. That's the inner vision, the inner sight. Seeing the inner, hidden potentiality of another soul. Hearing. We can do the same with hearing. As we turn into the inner hearing, we hear the voice of truth amongst a throng of pretenders. The sense of smell. The inner quality is the ability to sense another's emotional state. That one, when I read that, quickened me, made me feel one with animal nature, because they sense that, right? And I thought, we are that. And then finally, the last one is the touch. The inner expression of touch is the union of souls, an encounter that may be triggered, but greatly transcends speech, deed, or physical proximity. The expression of touch is the union of souls. They also had taste here. The corresponding inner sense is the ability to verify truth through hypothesis, experiment, and experience. The taste. Let me digest this. Let me take this message. Let me close this now, because I offer it to you. My week opened up. My week became quiet. My week had a lot of silence in it. My week, your weeks, we're all living them. I can look at all of you, beautiful people, through the drishti eye, but I also know that each one of you has so much pain, so much moment of regret. It's the human experience. But what will you do to that? What do? We stay open and we receive each other. You see, how could we judge anyone knowing that they have a fractured heart and a hidden way inside of them as well? So we go into prayer, into the closet, into that space. We slow down. Join me there. As we turn that inner gaze, that spiritual gaze, to our own self, to our own beating heart. And we are welcomed by the divine, by the Father, the Mother, God, friend, nature, mystery, truth. Whatever you name, it is. And that quality of love burst forth. And with that light of awareness and awakening and remembering, you are home. You have arrived. And you take your seat into the arms of the beloved. And you allow yourself now to be steered by this truth. To feel that now your eyes are seen with the divine eyes out into the world, and your heart is opening. And no longer are we a divided nation, a divided people. We are one. And we understand that level of love, that this unity, that this unified field allows each and every one of us to feel empowered in our knowing. And we find resolution, and we find our truth, and we digest our understanding, and then we continue to question. So I give thanks for the philosophy through the ages, that continual thread of truth that has wound its way through time to me, to you, to us. In this sanctuary, in this moment, we remember who we are. I give thanks. I release this word, knowing that the journey continues. And as we soften our gaze, our hearts soften, and we become the peace that prevails. So be it, and so it is. Thank you.